Thank you very much, Puckett, and a big g'day to everyone here at the Blizzard Arena. Of course, Mitch Leslie here with Matt Morello, and it's time to jump into the North American side of things here. EnVyUs going up against the Undercorn Dogs. It's going to be quite the stoush.
And it's great to see Seagull back in action. It was something coming into the weekend. We weren't sure if he was going to play. Speaking with Envy, definitely will be utilized this weekend. I think it throws a lot of problems at the opposing teams, because the one thing with Envy you could have said is they don't have a great Genji. We've seen Taimu run it throughout the season, mixed results. Who's going to be their Pharah player? They don't exactly have one. Now Seagull's in the lineup makes it very interesting, because now FNRGFE don't know what to expect. They can run the triple DPS, they can have Effect or Seagull switch over to the Zarya. It's really hard to game plan against.
Yeah, the amount of possible permutations of this EnVyUs roster is fearsome, to say the very least. And then you look towards a team like FNRGFE, who is actually more known for more of an even contribution to kills and damage across the board. In fact, as it was discussed on their desk, the DPS duo are definitely not the ones dragging this team kicking and screaming through by any stretch of the imagination. FNRGFE like to play almost segmented in a 4-2 setup. We often see that, Muma goes forward, often just with clockwork. Coolmat really likes to care for his backline, so keep an eye on him, especially on a map like this one, where it's so easy to surround your opponents.
Yeah, when we spoke to FNRGFE, they kind of talked about their play style. Well, you'll have Muma go in front with Clockwork. Like you were saying, Coolmat, his job is to really keep Bonnie alive. We'll see Bonnie at the beginning of the game. He'll be starting things off on the Sombra. We'll kick things off, though, from the eyes of Seagull. So, it's been a while since we've seen him at a LAN event. We were talking, it's got to be, what, MLG Vegas?
It's an incredibly cathartic experience to see the bird come home to roost, and Seagull starts off fairly well. He attempts to get the knockoff there just to start things off. Put Coolmat into the drink, but it doesn't quite work out. You can see he's giving definitely a lot of respect and positioning. His buzz is up on that Soldier 76, though. There is a threat here. Sombra's so good on this map, Seagull has to keep his distance for now.
We'll see who can take the point first. A nice rocket there from Seagull on a Clockwork. He's going to have to back out just a little bit. Nobody has gotten control of the point just yet. It'll be Coco charging on in, starting the fight.
That's the engagement. Seagull trying to get to the back line, immediately finds Clockwork. He might have a second DPS for his travels here, but he opts to back away. Effect has already done so much work on the point. The laser, Coolmat can't protect himself from it with the defensive matrix, and Taimu can keep his own respectful distance and allow Effect to clean up these kills. Seagull re-enters the fight halfway through once the key players are down, and he's on cleanup duty.
Yeah, and I think you feel great about this lineup if you are EnVyUs, because you saw what Effect could do on the Zarya in the regular season match against FNRGFE. It was like Monty was talking about on the desk. His Tracer was not super effective. Buds ran a fantastic Junkrat this matchup. You saw what he could do on Zarya. They ran a triple tank lineup there. But you see the damage he's able to do as Zarya at the beginning of the game already into a grab.
There's no mitigation for Effect's damage right now. You can see he's already got a Graviton ready to go. He wants to bait something, he sends it in. He only really captures the one player with it at this stage, but still he's happy to turn back towards the front line of FNRGFE now, having cut them in two with the Graviton surge. Sound Barrier coming out now as well. Harry Hooks let that one go, and it's time for Seagull to rain it on down. He'll take the one on Coolmat and get rezzed up by Chips, who was ready and willing to get him on his feet.
Envy does have to invest both support ultimates into this fight, though. So they did use the res, they used the Sound Barrier. So coming into this next fight, FNRGFE will have a Sound Barrier of their own. They're going to get close to an EMP here as well. See, maybe you can combine those, use them on the point.
This is such a throwback composition. Mercy, McCree, and Pharah in the same lineup. Throw Zarya in the mix, and EnVyUs. It's a throwback to the Halcyon era of Overwatch, and maybe it may have returned here as Seagull sends Buds packing. He can't get a look in on this 76. As mobile as he is in the health region that he has available with Biotic Field, he still seems to be have a big target painted on his back at least.
And what do you do when you lose the 76? I mean, all you have is Coolmat with the defense matrix. You don't have another shield tank because you're running the Winston, obviously. You see the Deadeye come out here from Taimu, trying to take out a player or two. EMP comes in from Bonnie, but there's nothing you can really do to defend against that Pharah once you lose that Soldier 76.
Yeah, you can see the EnVyUs fairly split up over on the point. Taimu not able to get involved in the fight as he bit off a little bit more than he could chew on a flank attempt. And Chips was sort of occupied, trying to get the McCree up to full strength. Again, splitting the team in half, and FNRGFE had their choice of target. They're finally in control. It's 82% for EnVyUs now, and the ultimate situation isn't exactly stellar for FNRGFE. They really want an EMP to help them maintain control at this point, and Coco can shatter them to the 4 wins.
Yeah, they're far away from an EMP right now. It's going to be Coco with an Earth Shatter, connects on to Coolmat. Knocks him down, Muma gets in his way. They're able to deal with Coco. It'll be Clockwork taking out one as well. It's Taimu probably going to be forced to back up here. Mitch is EnVyUs saved some ultimates. They just used that Earth Shatter, didn't get anything for it.
Really interesting decision there for Coco to line up just Coolmat on his own and go for the Earth Shatter. You can see how much priority is being placed on removing the D.Va mech from the equation, because Taimu can do that, you know, mid to long range damage in an unmitigated fashion, as well as Seagull and Effect were very close to their respective ultimates, which are highly susceptible to being shut down by a Graviton.
Well, now you have a grab plus Rocket Barrage combo for EnVyUs. FNRGFE, they have a lot of ults to work with here as well. Bonnie with that EMP can definitely play spoilers. There it comes in.
It's going to be the EMP, but it's going to get 2 easy kills off the back of that one. There's nothing available for EnVyUs to stop the damage to come through. Chips hastily. It's a res on Effect and Harry Hook, and Seagull's just trying to stay safe in the side room. The Graviton might help him out. Coming in over the top here. 2 rockets straight in, and Boink is forced to back away. But it's not a lethal blow struck yet by EnVyUs. There's more work to be done, but Banny finds himself deep in enemy lines, and he is outed and dealt with very, very quickly. Seagull follow up on towards the point. Coolmat being isolated, but Clockwork somehow sticks Chips. The Mercy is down for EnVyUs. They've got to rely on Harry Hook. He might need to use that sound barrier if they want to get control of this point.
And it's a sound barrier that comes in from FNRGFE, keeps them alive on the point as they have taken the lead, getting close to 90%. Effect switches over to Tracer, trying to get back towards the point here.
That was a gross overextension from FNRGFE. They lost 2 critical players, and now that was Taimu plinking away at them with the Peacemaker. Now they can come back to this point earlier than they first anticipated. Continue to apply pressure to FNRGFE, who's at 99% right now. Overtime will tick. Clockwork on 50%. No Pulse Bomb really available for him. He knew he had to dodge away from a potential flashbang from Taimu there. Now Coco trying to give him a bit of space there. You do notice that Banny got the EMP down, but it's not enough to stop this damage being front-loaded by EnVyUs. They're back in control.
So Envy has to use a decent amount of ults, though. They end up using the sound barrier. They use their Deadeye. They don't have the Rocket Barrage. You see Seagull use it there. Effect switches over to the Tracer off of the Zarya. Be one last push here for FNRGFE. They're going to have Attack Visor, and that's about it.
Resurrect and Earth Shatter are going to be very, very important here for EnVyUs. Coco really needs to nail this one. He can't just sort of look for Coolmat. That's going to start the fight up real well. Clockwork has his head removed from his shoulders, and Coco follows up beautifully there. He used that Earth Shatter, but it was to good effect, there's no doubt. Pulse Bomb there, just an insurance policy to get rid of that pesky D.Va mech. And EnVyUs are all over the point. FNRGFE at the crucial moment, they capitulate. First round to EnVyUs.
There's great positioning there from Taimu. He's hiding in, he knows they have to dive in, waiting for Clockwork to get onto the point as the Tracer, the flashbang, one headshot, takes him out, opens things up with a first point win there for Envy. Still 1 more point to win the map. Something of note, when they switched Effect off of the Zarya over to the Tracer, I think it'll be interesting when they have Seagull in the lineup. It's like if the Pharah is not working or the Genji's not working, you have Effect, who you know is so good as the Tracer player. It's like, when do you decide to make that change in the middle of a game? You reset 2 players' ultimates, you know, their build up towards them. I think that'll be something that Envy has to figure out as time goes on.
There's a bit of flexibility in there, though, as well. If you're a Zarya, obviously, the rate at which you generate Graviton Surge depends heavily on your energy, use, or how effectively you use projected barriers. So you'll notice that a good player like Effect will have them fairly frequently, so it's not too devastating to make the switch. And his Tracer's so good. Seagull! What a way to open up. Buds is taken down before he gets close to the point.
That is why you add Seagull. If you want that Pharah battle, takes Buds out instantly at the start of this game. And I would not want to be Buds right now. You're going up against Seagull as the Pharah. Taimu running Widowmaker here, putting pressure on you as well. Oh, by the way, you're dealing with Effect on the ground as Tracer too. Envy can throw so much firepower at you now.
FNRGFE, it's tough for them now. They need to prioritize, especially when their dive component is quite compact. The 2 players, obviously, in Muma and in Clockwork, to try and make things happen in that regard. Seagull's got a lot of freedom here. You see, he's looking for Buds. Buds, for the most part, is actually trying to work around Seagull. They both have the pockets there, and Coco and Muma both go down. So both the Winstons have fallen, but Effect is able to make the most of this process to deal with Coolmat, get him out of that mech. And Seagull now, he might have the 1v1. He wants Buds. Found Chips, but Seagull knew exactly who he was going for. He removes the Pharah from the equation.
It is FNRGFE able to take the point here, though. Seagull will fall. Will be Clockwork doing the honors as Taimu just trying to get vision on the point here. Wonder how long they stay with the Widowmaker. They maybe switch Taimu over to 76. He'll use the infrared sight. It'll be Envy pushing onto the point here as the Effect takes out Muma right at the beginning.
Huge opening there as well. You can see where Muma was standing quite a long way back. It's a deep foray into enemy lines that it was such a big target, but it's worked out. Taimu's being pressured a little bit here, and he's forced to play incredibly tight angles. You can see this is quite frustrating for a Widow player to work around. However, Seagull is much in the opposite position. He's got a lot of room to roam. He tries to get the concussive blast, and it's worked. Coolmat gets desuited and taken down. Boink also fell. He was very close to falling off the edge, but that's very artful play by Seagull. You can see so much room to work with. You give this man an inch, he'll take a country mile.
Well, I think the issue here for FNRGFE is like, where do you put the emphasis on? Is the emphasis on shutting down Effect, who's just kind of in your backlines doing a ton of damage? Is it taking out Seagull in the sky, part of the Pharah Mercy combo? Is it putting pressure on?
Where do you start?
Is it putting pressure on Taimu as the Widowmaker, who's just getting free damage in the back? It's like, where do you start? And especially because this is a obviously brand new comp with Seagull in the lineup. You haven't seen this a lot. You haven't seen it at all, quite frank. So you don't even know really where to begin.
So Timer gets picked off early here by Bud, so maybe playing a little bit too close to the point. But you see, the rest of the threats from the side of EnVyUs are pulling their weight more than they even need to. Benny gets a 3-man resurrect here, so a second bite at the apple for FNRGFE, but it's going to have to be pretty darn effective and quick at that. EnVyUs still remain control at this point. The longer this fight goes, the more it benefits the boys in blue. But Coco again going down. We've been watching a lot of Seagull in this round, but Bud, you can still see him paving the way with important pickoffs on Widows and, of course, Winston's and the like.
Yeah, I think Bud's just putting enough pressure on Seagull so he can't just go to town as Taimu takes out Bud's there on Widow. It looks like Envy going to back up here and possibly make some changes. FNRGFE, they actually invested their sound barrier towards the end of that fight, so you're not going to have either support ults coming into this next fight. Envy will have sound barrier, they'll have their res as well.
And this is great for time. You can see the dive from EnVyUs has given him a lot of room. Space has been created, and now you can see FNRGFE are trying to rectify that. But Timer can escape. Now the jump boost has been used in by Muma, and Harry Hook can just follow that one up there. Effect also was free to hit that backline. Cool, man, it's hard to see his impact in these fights because we haven't been watching him. But his backline is falling very, very quickly. So EnVyUs are navigating around this defense matrix very well.
And that's the issue when you dive on a Taimu, right? You saw Muma and Clockwork going back on him. He escapes. And when you dedicate 2 resources, big resources, to try and take him out, and you don't, you allow Effect, you allow Seagull to just run rampant on the rest of your team.
Now the waiting game. Clockwork makes a 4A forward. Effect is forced to just jump out there. Won't obviously use a rewind. Has some healing available to him. Now the pulse bomb that's connected nicely. It's not carried further on towards any other players, but it left Muma very, very low. And that key initiator, that main player to start the fights, is down for FNRGFE. And after the fact, it's just cleanup.
See the Rocket Barrage come in. There'll be Chips bringing Seagull back into the action there with a res. Bud's doing some work on the Pharah. He's able to take out Seagull. Seagull D-Max, cool Matt. Effect still on the point here for Envy. So worried about trying to get Seagull out of the sky. They do take him out, but look, I mean, just Harry just speed boosting Effect in there. Effect doing a ton of damage. Just putting a ton of pressure here on the point. Boink getting some healing from Bonnie, but it's going to leave Cool Matt on the, it's going to be Moom on the point alone there for FNRGFE. They're going to res him back into the fight.
Overtime, it's last chance saloon for FNRGFE in this first map, and it opens up well. Muma makes a pancake out of Harry Hook, and he finds Taimu as well. Of course, the use of that Primarate is going to give him a little bit more sticking power, and it seems to have done the job for the time being. EnVyUs forced into a full-scale retreat. FNRGFE have a brief moment just to take a breath. Sound barrier is going to be around the corner. Pulse bomb is there for Clockwork if needed. That's all they're really going to have to work with for this potentially last fight.
Yeah, Taimu's going to switch off of the Widowmaker, go over to McCree here. So a little bit more consistent damage, be able to deal against Clockwork if he puts pressure on Muma with an early pick off onto Effect.
Really nice.
So it'll force EnVyUs to wait a little bit longer. It's a big pick there. So now you will have sound barrier for FNRGFE. You'll get one for EnVyUs as well here towards the end, but 91% for FNRGFE. Just need to win one fight.
It's going to be close. Sound barrier definitely going to be an itchy trigger finger for Boink at this stage. And speaking of that, Taimu is trying to gun down Banny, but that sound barrier is going to make him very, very tricky to cut through. Effect drops first again. It's the second consecutive fight in which he's done. So this time Clockwork has found him. This could be disastrous for EnVyUs as they're trying to finish things off. It's a hastily thrown flash, and Taimu tries to roll on back, but he's caught out by Cool Man. Coco goes in. Primarate was available. He got chucked very, very low before he had a chance to even use it. Now all around the point. Seagull up on high has found Muma. A big opening, but Banny erases the effort. Done. Buds and Mama are back on their feet, and Seagull is cut down, at least getting a D-suit on towards Coolmat, but it's going to take more, and Effect might have just brought it. 2 kills already for him. Boink falling by the wayside now. This is going to be dangerous. There's a mini diva on the point. Effect is finding his targets one after another after another.
Oh, that was so dangerous there for Envy. It was Chips falls at 99% towards Rez. He gets back into the fight. Now FNRGFE, they're just going to be forced to stall onto the point. It'll be Cool Matt launching a self-destruct in the sky. The point goes over to Envy. They will take map number 1.
Cool Matt has been said to be the best baby diva player in the world. The amount of times we see him able to eject from a suit and get a kill on his way down is impressive. The problem is that he sent the mech up so high that by the time he touched the ground, it was over. He actually landed on the platform. Has another name that players call it. I'm not going to use that word, but yeah, he dropped onto that platform. And you can't contest the point from that area. You need to actually be on the point itself. So a bit unfortunate. Maybe you wanted to drop down. Either way, Matt, it was pretty much done and dusted by then. And there is much to talk about there, especially from the side of EnVyUs and how we actually even saw Effect continue to do his work.
Yeah, I mean, you could see how this triple DPS lineup can work for EnVyUs. Puts a lot of pressure on the opposing team, know who they're going to focus down. And I think the harder part is, as you see, it looks like Mickey's going to come in. For FNRGFE, like, who do you game plan for? Like, now Mickey comes in, it's a completely different feel. Mickey, a fantastic diva player.
Let's have a look at some of the highlights from the previous game. And this is the man, of course, Effect. We spent a lot of time on board with Seagull, but this guy was hitting that backline so hard. He would have been stressing Coolmount out so very much. Buds normally sits in the backline with his team and tries to also help peel for his supports, but when he's playing this Pharaoh role, there's not a whole lot he can do.
Yeah, and it also puts a ton of pressure on Coolmount, like you're saying, because he's got the defense matrix, right? They don't have a shield tank, somebody like a Reinhardt or a Risa. I mean, they have the Winston bubble, but it's only going to survive you for so long. So, Coolmount, who likes to play a little bit further back, is going to be forced to now get a little bit, in Seagull's face with that defense matrix. That allows Effect to just kind of run rampant on the backline of FNRGFE, which, when we spoke to them, they said their game plan is to keep Bonnie alive, let him do work on the Zen.
That's the problem, of course. You can only really do so much to mitigate the amount of damage coming out from EnVyUs. And when they can play this very esoteric kind of triple DPS composition, it's tough to deal with. Of course, our second map being just around the corner in this best of 5, looks like it's going to be EnVyUs here.
Yeah, and this is one where we saw Taimu in the regular season do crazy things on the Junkrat. That's before the double mine patch. Now, obviously playing on, I believe it's 1.14.
Yep.
We'll see the Junkrat with the double mine. The tire, a little bit slower, tick down when he goes off the wall. So we'll see Taimu potentially run the Junkrat here. I think also, you bring Seagull into the mix. Seagull could be a fantastic Junkrat player.
Well,
He has
been shown to be one. And the interesting story about this is we actually saw this from Korean teams as well, is that prior to this patch and prior to Junkrat actually receiving that buff, teams were still using him. There were a couple. I mean, Taimu said even before, Junkrat was playing with 2 mines. He's like, guys, Junkrat's really good. Can we just play this? And they said yes. The South Korean World Cup team,
when we were in Poland,
the same vein, did the same thing as well. They were playing Reinhardt, McCree, Junkrat before those particular heroes received their buff because obviously they've been practicing on live and they knew it was still good even in the prior patch.
And South Korea knew they could run anything and still win.
So
I think you kind of throw the fact that they ran the Junkrat out the window.
There is a mitigating factor that, of course.
I think they ran quad tank with an Orisa on King's Row at one point with Flower. He was just attempting to play every hero, but we did see them play a decent amount of Junkrat at that event.
Correct.
Then, speaking with Taimu, he tried it out during the regular season, before the patch comes through, and he's like, hey, this is actually pretty good as is. Like, it's going to be great when he gets these buffs, and I expect to see it here on EnVyUs. I also expect FNRGFE to probably run one as well. Buds is a very good Junkrat player. We saw him in the Envy series during the regular season give them a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that was really interesting. He actually, we spoke to him earlier on, and he sort of just picked it up maybe a little bit later than some other teams because obviously FNRGFE was still pretty keen on playing in the previous style that they had been. We've been seeing Buds play a couple different things. In fact, we saw the Genji out from him. The reality about Buds is that he's played in almost every major Overwatch LAN since the Atlantic Showdown, I suppose. He's been all up in those ones, obviously representing for teams like Fnatic and the likes. In the past year, he was a big Reaper player in the period of Reaper being so strong. We've seen his Pharah's very good. He randomly picked up Tracer in the finals at DreamHack, those matches that we cast, and he actually took Soon, at the time considered to be the best Tracer in the world, to the 1v1 and actually beat him in many of those occasions. So he's an exciting prospect. When you speak to Casey in person, he's fairly understates himself.
Laid low,
real laid back like a lot of these guys are. But when the rubber hits the road and he gets in the game, it starts to heat up for him real quick.
I think this is a must-win map, though, for FNRGFE. I think they drop this. I think this is definitely looking like a 3-0 for EnVyUs. You heard the guys on the desk. They thought that Oasis could have been the map that FNRGFE could have taken.
Right.
And I think it would have been like with Seagull coming in, a little bit newer lineup for Envy. Maybe things don't go according to plan. Now you bring Mickey back into the lineup here on map number 2. We've seen what they can do with Mickey. They were phenomenal throughout the regular season. They've been phenomenal since they picked him up, going all the way back. I think this is a one where you needed to have FNRGFE take map number 1 if they were going to make this a series.
EnVyUs is just around the corner, a map that EnVyUs are notorious for being very hard to break on. It's time to jump in just a few moments as FNRGFE look to stabilize, look to try and identify EnVyUs. But what do you do about a team that switches their star players like they're changing their Yeezys, man?
I knew you were going to bring the Yeezys into one of these. It's like, I know they're comfy, man. Don't hate. Dude, I got phased in the next match. 2 of their players have Yeezys.
They all have Yeezys,
it's a 20% confidence boost.
So why do you pay
25%
for shoes? Why do you pay $1,000 for shoes?
You don't. You got to find people who get them for you, and then they know that you just pay retail.
So turn it into like a treasure hunt. It's almost like a social experiment, right? How cheap can I get these shoes?
Yeah, exactly.
No one actually pays full price for them.
There are people that do. There are people that do. Some people do.
I don't know what to say.
I'm
still getting used to...
I did for one pair. It was a bad idea.
Get out. I'm still getting used to the United States, honestly, and that kind of approach. But that's fine. I mean, if you want to wear mattresses on your feet, then that's up to you. We're going to be jumping in just a second, of course, and no surprises here. We know Effect and Taimu both are very proficient McCree players. Taimu, definitely one of the most famous around the place. And of course, his Junkrat, very, very scary.
Yeah, Effect has shown to be a very good McCree as well during the season. It'll be Envy on defense here. Kick things off. You'll have Taimu running the Junkrat. We talked a little bit about the destruction he did with the Junkrat in the regular season. At least at the beginning here, you could potentially see FNRGFE run a Junkrat on offense. You would be expecting Coco, with a McCree and the Junkrat, you'd expect to see the Reinhardt out from Envy try and break that shield down.
So the idea when you're playing around this kind of choke is to kind of give up as much spam as you can and sort of prevent the enemy team's ability to reciprocate, right? So you've got divas on either side here. Obviously, Mickey and Coolmat have to be very judicious about how they use the defense matrix to prevent, especially Junkrat grenades and mines and all the like. You see Buds goes in, tries to get the remote mine, but that's eaten up immediately. Pressure towards him, but Banny's picked Taimu off immediately. Now it's on for Young and all. And FNRGFE know they have a crucial window to go forward on.
And it's a huge pick because Envy is relying on all that damage going through the choke as now Bud's now on the flank as Junkrat. It's a very good first push here from FNRGFE. Really opened up by Bonnie's initial pick.
Yeah. Wake up, EnVyUs is definitely going to be the call there. They were taken by surprise, and FNRGFE were not afraid to play a Junkrat mirror against them. Clockwork on the Soldier 76 as well, of course, just able to support with a heck of a lot of damage. And it didn't take much convincing for Muma to hit that back line real hard.
And we'll see if Envy pushes up. We saw a lot of defensive stands where, teams get to the payload before you open up this door. It looks like you have Mickey here for Envy. We'll see if he gets on a contest or if FNRGFE will push out a little bit here.
Interesting there. Mickey obviously hoping to, generate some ultimate percentage, trying to go 1-for-1 with Coolmat, which is always an interesting battle, that Diva mirror. Coolmat again, he's looking for people flanking. He's looking for the potential of someone getting behind their back line. Buds has already fallen here to the hand of Mickey, which is not a great start here. This is going to definitely stall out FNRGFE a bit. And yeah, you don't stick with the Junkrat here necessarily because it's very, very hard to access multiple levels of verticality on that pick. It's going to be Clockwork and Boink on in, and EnVyUs wanted to engage. They acquiesced here. The glove was slapped across the face and they've joined the fray. It hasn't worked out well.
Yeah, Mickey used the self-destruct, trying to stay on the payload a little bit longer. He will eventually perish as Envy tries to get on. Play some defense there at the choke. FNRGFE takes the game to him. Now this is looking pretty good for FNRGFE. You're going to have both support ults. You're going to have a Transcendence. You're going to have Sound Barrier. You're going to have Attack Visor as well. It'll be Effect using Attack Visor, getting the benefits of a Nano Boost as well.
He saw the opportunity straight away. Coolmat had been desuited, and he came forward now with that Tactical Visor. It was actually a Nano Visor, so to trade a Transcendence for that if you're Banny on the side of FNRGFE is actually not too bad at all. You're happy with that. You still have momentum, you still have Sound Barrier, and Clockwork has his own Tac Visor to back that up with now. It's going to be a battle of attrition. Get rid of that Widowmaker if you possibly can and go for it. Clockwork's been isolated on the back lines, and Coco did go for a bit of an Earth Shatter here. He found Boink, that's it. That was the player, of course, with the Sound Barrier, so FNRGFE are missing that for the time being, and EnVyUs look like they're happy to make and take advantage.
Yeah, and EnVyUs going to invest their own Sound Barrier into the fight as well. Going to back FNRGFE up. I thought you were going to see Coco save that Earth Shatter when maybe you saw FNRGFE engage with the Sound Barrier and try and hold on to that ultimate. But looks like Coco uses the Earth Shatter. EnVyUs gets a win in that fight. Effect building up to another Tac Visor here. Chips already with the Nano Boost, so you can start to see Envy, flip and flop these support ults. You'll have the Nano, and then you'll end up getting the Sound Barrier the fight after.
Somewhat dubious ult uses by Clockwork there. He'd lost his player with his Sound Barrier. So Boink on the Lucio was down, he had Sound Barrier. Clockwork still opts to use a Tactical Visor while he's being stared down by a Diva with Defense Matrix, so it didn't get much value at all. Boink's back though, now the Sound Barrier is going to come out. Effect gets the Tactical Visor from the high ground. He's looking for a target. The Nano Boost does help out as well. But again, the damage mitigation from Coolmat is too good. Effect is forced to drop down and drop away. But it's already a bunch of kills in favor of FNRGFE. Some cheeky stall on the back of the payload there. Yeah, we see you there. Taimu trying to make things happen.
It's just
he's just going to fall.
It's just the effect that Coolmat has that doesn't kind of show up in the stats or, you know, your highlight reels at the end of the games. Like, that defense matrix arguably saved, what, 3 players you had? You know, Bonnie, Boink, and Clockwork all there. This effect has that high ground with the tac visor. Coolmat with a great defense matrix, able to just eat up a lot of effects tac visor. You see Taimu now making a switch. He'll go back to the Junkrat. The payload advances onto the bridge.
And you can see, this is different from live, of course. Coolmat has a lot more defense matrix available. He just literally puts himself in the damage core of EnVyUs and just taunts them as he blocks every bit of it. Batty has Transcendence though now, so you are probably going to see FNRGFE set up a little bit more in his castle and actually try and take the high ground by storm. Back it up with a flanking push from Buds with a pulse bomb. This could be absolutely devastating. He sticks it as well. Harry Hook is going to fall by the wayside and Coolmat's found effect. Buds again going to come back for another bite at the apple, but it seems as if that one's already rotten to the core. EnVyUs are going to have to give a lot of ground here, and there's no point spending extra ultimates with the fight in your advantage to such a degree. Taimu is up on high, just trying to do as much chip damage as he possibly can, but he's not going to be around to contest. He needs to get back to the rest of his team. He's probably not going to be allowed to.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, Harry is getting very close to sound barrier. Maybe you're able to, you know, get Mickey out of the door and get back on this quick. As Harry gets onto the payload, you get Mickey there as well, so Envy will get a contest.
Yeah.
It'll be Buds taking out Taimu at the beginning. Bonnie falls, though, with that Transcendence, so that's a big kill coming in from Chips.
Yeah, gonna look to try and get rid of Mickey right now. Clockwork needs a successful tac visor, but no, he's not on the ground. The self-destruct even invested. That's maybe a little bit more than the doctor actually ordered in the case of EnVyUs. They let go of a little bit of that ult bank, but the reality is they still have 3 more to go, including both of those support ultimates, which means this will be the 3rd consecutive nano visor for effect on this defensive effort. That's a high ultimate generation rate, and especially on characters like Soldier 76, that's closely tied to your damage, so that's a good indicator. Effect is doing work. I'm interested to see where he sets up. You can see into the left side here. A lot of damage in there from the periphery could make life hard for FNRGFE.
Yeah, I wonder if he goes towards that high ground or where you see, oh, okay, so we're going to have a nano boosted Coco just flying up top. It's the Transcendence that comes in from Bonnie. No sound barrier for FNRGFE just yet. Taimu does fall with his Riptire. It'll be the sound barrier that comes in for EnVyUs, and you see Clockwork just getting Mickey right in his face when he uses the tac visor.
Got to be frustrating for Clockwork. Hasn't found a good opportunity to use that tactical visor so far, but Coolmat is there. Coco and Chips fall to his head. He gets yet another one. It's Harry Hook down. The Riptire, unfortunately for Time, you're going to have a very underwhelming impact, and in fact, it's taken out before it gets there. With 30 seconds on the clock, it's going to be Effectus trying to stall this one out. No, they're going to get there. It's 2 checkpoints now for FNRGFE and 2 minutes on the clock.
A lot of ults invested from both teams, though. You see Mickey switches over to Zarya. Combine that with Coco's Reinhardt and Effect now. In the close quarters areas, he'll go off of the 76. He'll go to Tracer. See if he can put a lot of pressure on the back line. And I think as soon as you saw that switch come out, that's why you see Clockwork. He's going to switch, go over to the McCree here, and just try and play towards his back line. A nice headshot there onto Effect. It's an early pick for FNRGFE.
Clockwork attempts to flash over the shield, but Coco is unperturbed. He had the protective barrier from Mickey, gives himself some charge and protects his Reinhardt. But Clockwork still picking people out like fruits from a tree. It was Chips to go down. He just showed his head a little bit too long. That's a beautiful flash. And Clockwork is setting up so many kills even for his backline with the use of this flash. FNRGFE are unswayed as they make their way towards the end of the map.
Yeah, it's 3 kills for Bonnie there. FNRGFE talked about it, supporting Bonnie on the Zen, being able to just pick up
Protect
a ton
the
of
Bonnie,
kills.
they said.
Protect Bonnie, that's what they said the name of their game plan was. He's got the Transcendence here, playing a little bit forward. There's the Transcendence coming out, keeping everybody healed up on the point.
Bunny knew he could play forward because he had Transcendence ready to go, and it's baited EnVyUs into a fight. They thought they could catch the Zenyatta out of position. Instead, it's turned around. However, use of that Transcendence has only resulted in a 1-for-1 trade, and the Riptire is going to be coming in hard and fast. Taimu manages to connect with Mama, and that is definitely going to be FNRGFE taking a big old step back.
Yeah, now it's going to be very difficult for FNRGFE to get in. You do not have a support ult. You have your Deadeye. You probably get close to a sound barrier here, but EnVyUs, Effect will have a pulse bomb. Mickey's going to get up towards that grab. You're going to have a sound barrier as well here for Envy. Clockwork with the Deadeye, though, could be the difference.
Oh, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Taimu catches him out, and this time it is going to be the Finn that gets the better of Clockwork. Banny as well, trying to work from that higher position, connect some of these orbs in, but look how much is being invested in Coco to keep him alive. He's getting his shields, he's got his own shield, and Mickey keeping him alive. Graviton Surge there, if I'm not mistaken, being completely eaten up. It had no effect. Ultimately, that's going to be very frustrating for Mickey, but he's still in the fight. Taimu gets the grenade on towards Bud. That's Coolmat trying to stall this out, but the rest of his team are falling slowly, wilting away. And it's not with a roar, but with a whimper. It's going to be FNRG forced back away from the payload. An incomplete map, and EnVyUs hold them at bay.
Could have got dangerous there for Envy towards the end. When Bonnie uses his Transcendence and they're on the payload, like very close towards the end of the map, you actually had the nano boost being used by Envy on Akoko, and he couldn't really get anything for it. I believe they lose one player at the beginning of the fight. Does Envy, and he's forced to just kind of protect the rest of his teammates. So he's nano boosted, just kind of standing there with his shield up. And then it was Taimu, though, with the Riptire that swung it back in their favor. Uses the Riptire, forces everybody back for FNRGFE, gets Muma out of the equation. Then you see the push start to come in from EnVyUs. And after that, you never really saw anything get going for FNRGFE.
Yeah, I mean, a pronounced improvement, though, in terms of damage output when we managed to see Clockwork switch over towards the McCree, obviously playing around those L-shaped corners. It's much easier to get value out of your flashbang and indeed set up kills for your teammates. He was really hoping for a big Deadeye in that last fight. But again, you're dealing with a Zarya and a Reinhardt, so actually trying to get damage down around those shields requires your team to make a full-scale engagement to try and drain some of those defensive resources. So as much as it's nice to see they had a Deadeye there was much more that needed to be done. Also, standing still is not great up against a competent Junkrat in Taimu. The switch up was good as well. Like, nice to see Zarya in that last stage, and this is something that we've seen teams do for quite some time, actually, on their final points of maps when you can bring the Reinhardt, take Route 66, for example, Numbani, slow the pace of the game down, play a little bit more controlling. And now it's time for EnVyUs to see if they can finish the map. That's all they have to do, 59.58 meters, so pretty much the end of the map, but not quite. They reach that point, and they will be 2-0 up in this series.
You got to wonder if Envy's kicking themselves a little bit. They lose Taimu at the beginning of their first defensive stand. When you lose that Junkrat in the composition they're running, you're really relying on the Junkrat to put down a ton of spam, a ton of damage into that choke. You lose that Junkrat, you saw how things fell apart for EnVyUs. I think if you're Envy now on the offensive side, you got to get rid of Buds. You know he's going to possibly be running the Junkrat. Envy will go with Junkrat, with Taimu. They'll have Effect pick up Tracer duties, and instead of having, you know, a Zarya Ryan, you're going to see Mickey go with the Winston here. It's Buds taking out Effect right at the beginning of the game, though.
Good opening, and that sends an important message to EnVyUs as FNRGFE are here to play. Banny's also switched over towards the Ana on this defense. Obviously, you saw his Zenyatta was actually what broke EnVyUs apart on that first attack. And they're going to walk it up on in. EnVyUs straight around the corner. Nice speed boost from Harry Hook there to get them in a much more defensible position to start the fight. And FNRGFE just walked straight into the trap. Mickey's found Muma now. Chips again, hitting that back line. A lot of healing coming across the map. Coolmat isn't even sure really where to go at this stage. Again, Taimu to send himself forward here. He'll try and deal with anyone trying to reinforce or try and set up a nice position. But that fight was over almost as soon as it started.
Both teams at relatively no defense.
Oh my God.
That was filthy. Absolutely destroys Clockwork, and then just Bonnie eats a mine in the mouth.
And that's what's so devastating about this now is that FNRGFE are all spawning from actually back inside that castle. So Taimu dealt with the only players that were able to establish themselves outside of the drawbridge itself, outside of the gate. Now he can keep pushing them in, buying so much space here for EnVyUs. If EnVyUs don't spend too many ultimates here, this is just an excellent way to get themselves some damage while they've still got one person pushing the payload.
And what do you do? I mean, it's going to be Coolmat getting demeched here. He gets hit with a mine because all this damage coming through the choke from Taimu. You also have Effect over there, you know, taking players out who are very weak from the Junkrat spam. So looks like there's one player on the payload. Looks like that's going to be Boink as he gets pushed off. He will die very shortly, you imagine. There it is. Now Muma jumps in. You're starting to see FNRGFE stagger a little bit here.
Taimu now Riptire. Heading up towards the top of the castle, more just to scout and see where FNRGFE are. He loses the tire, but he gains a lot of information. He passes that on to Effect, who's waiting. A couple clips of damage will have a pulse bomb. If he can stick it on FNRGFE as they're trying to get out of this corridor, this could be absolutely devastating. Again, looks for his target. Coolmat, the defense matrix, is being tested sorely to its absolute capability, but having to back away there. Pulse bomb was dropped, it doesn't really connect. Effect just had a recall out of that situation. His pulse is ready with Muma down and Bud's being dropped. That's bad news for FNRGFE.
Yeah, and they're going to have to invest a tack visor here. You hear it coming out from Clockwork. They leave poor Bonnie alone against Effect. We know how that fight's going to end up. Effect takes him out. Mickey also uses a Primal Rage a little bit earlier, just kept pushing FNRGFE back. They were not even able to make it out the door. It's been a fantastic push here by EnVyUs.
And this Primal Rage, again, we see that Muma comes forward. He's trying to get rid of someone in the background, but that payload was allowed to move forward a couple more meters. And EnVyUs, guess what? They built up that bank of ultimates. They've got everything they need. It's like a veritable medicine cabinet they just reach into and grab what's required at the time. The sound barrier made it impossible to get any damage done, and they're still pushing forward. This is relentless.
Well, FNRGFE, they use their sound barrier as well. It only connects with Boink and Muma, so you use it there towards the end. Maybe attempting to stay alive a little bit longer, but the position that you're in, and when you're just getting rolled, you would like that sound barrier right about now. As Coco getting close to an Earth Shatter, you're going to have a Riptire as well.
McCree for Clockwork here, yet again. Make the switch, the stage of the map, of course.
Might be a little bit late.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good chance, especially with this Riptire so imminent right now. Oh, that's nasty. The Rhino was knocked out of position. The Earth Shatter comes down. Taimu comes in. It's a fate, just to fate. That encounter is unbelievable now. It's going to be the self-destruct coming in over the top, but that is just filthy. Takes a bit to process, Matt. There's so many moving parts in that play for EnVyUs, but FNRGFE just got lit up.
It's a sick offense here from EnVy. See Taimu going to get the benefits of the nano boost. The Riptire comes out from Buds. EnVy so close to finishing out this map. You see Effect switch over to the Bastion here. Trying to get back in the action, maybe make an impact. Okay, it's able to get one.
I like this.
Then he falls.
I don't mind that. It generally only works if you actually have your team that are implying that they're stalling, or you're sort of managing to filter players back through. If it's just the Bastion, obviously it doesn't look that good. Right. So EnVyUs obviously looked to try and capitalize on their knock-up there that Taimu provided. The Earth Shatter again from Coco was underwhelming. Only 1 or 2 players, and it was a lot invested there. Huge amount of ultimates. We also saw the Riptire, which leaves EnVyUs without any, but with a huge amount of time in the bank here.
You see Mickey switch things up. He will move off of Winston. He'll go over to Zarya as well. Clockwork does have the Deadeye. Maybe he can connect with one. Clockwork able to take out Effect. I think Clockwork has been fantastic on the McCree so far in this matchup.
It's worked really well on this last stage for him, so especially he's trying to trace the movements, excuse the pun, of Effect around the map, just to make sure that Effect doesn't have an easy place to drop in. Effect switches over towards the Reaper, which is, okay, not necessarily a bad pick, but also susceptible to McCree. Now that Soldier 76, if his backline does get left upon, or they're suffering a lot of damage coming in from that McCree, having a biotic field available is going to be very, very important. There's still a lot of shielding for Effect to get around, so he's going to be really just trying to chip away at these defensive structures that FNRGFE have at their disposal.
Yeah, and FNRGFE is starting to build up some ultimates here as well. They'll have a sound barrier. They still have the Deadeye. Did not have to use it in the last fight. It'll be the Riptire here that comes out from Taimu. It'll be the sound barrier and Deadeye that comes out from FNRGFE. Buds gets taken out while he's calling in his own Riptire. Chips actually takes out the Riptire, so they get nothing for it.
That was the most impressive part of it here as well. Look at that, it's a party. And Taimu looks like he's the birthday boy. Everyone getting knocked up, and the Vital Grenade used one towards Coco. It's gonna be a nano rat? Are you kidding me? It's actually not a small rat, it's actually a very scary one. And Taimu's caught in the Graviton Surge here. Very, very hard for him to really have freedom to move, but he had the damage mitigation. He's able to back away. And just a parting gift towards Banny as he falls. And EnVyUs looks like they're getting a little bit more frustrated here. FNRGFE are closing ranks.
Well, the one match that FNRGFE won during during the EnVy game in the regular season, it was Gibraltar, but it was at the end of the map where EnVy kind of stalled out, and they didn't switch off of their car. They just kind of stuck with it and stuck with it and stuck with it, and just kind of kept ramming it down FNRGFE's throats, and they were able to hold on. See if the same thing happens here. So it'll be Taimu with another Riptire.
Another one. The amount of these that he's getting is unbelievable. Again, trying to hide behind the wall, just prevent the damage coming through. This is also forcing FNRGFE away from the payload, but still, they get 2 taken down. Both tanks have fallen by the wayside. That is bang for your buck if I've ever seen it. Earth Shatter is there, not quite towards the end as Buds makes one valiant attempt to keep this one alive, but it's not going to be enough. 2-0, currently in favor of EnVyUs. A little bit of frustration. The war of attrition definitely taking its toll towards the end of that map, Matt. But FNRGFE are eventually brushed aside by just the sheer force of that Riptire.
Well, we talked about it. You mentioned it a little bit, where the tank play of FNRGFE was getting the best of EnVy towards the end there. You had the shield from Muma, and you had Coolmat switching over to the Zarya. They were able to be very effective towards the end of that game. What happens? Double kill with the Riptire. You get rid of both those tanks. Effect comes in with Attack Visor, takes out a few players. That was it for EnVyUs.
It's interesting, that pick from Effect there. We talked about the Soldier 76 playing around fairly close quarters, but also dealing with a Zarya and a Reinhardt. So a lot of his potential damage just can be converted and outputted by FNRGFE with the use of those shields effectively. So maybe he was even at a loss as to sort of what to pick up in that position. But it definitely feels like it was simply a matter of time before Taimu managed to nail the Riptire that he needed, Matt. And that was enough to seal the deal. It's 2-0 right now in this best of 5 series, and the rest is just around the corner. We'll see you when we get right back.